Hi everybody, it's Ellie here again. Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing the Riverside Roost lot, which is the last lot that we've got going here in Courtyard Lane of Willow Creek. Today I built a modern build. I was going to go with a shotgun style house as is the original. Then I realised I hadn't actually made a modern build for this neighbourhood yet. So I channeled my inner cheerleader to cheer me on whilst I did it. And I have to admit it turned out really well. I'm not gonna lie, this was very inspired by the House of Tomorrow from Fallout 4, the one that the sole survivor lives in and the ones that are all around Sanctuary and I believe the West Everett estates. And I just really liked how it turned out. It's definitely a family home, you'll see why later, but please sit back, relax and enjoy the build. I had a bit of indecision when it came to the doors and windows, especially the windows on the upper floor, as you'll see in a bit. I just couldn't figure out how to place them or if the placement looked good. It does look very plain at times, but eventually I settle into something that I think looks nice, and I do switch the front door and the back door around as well because I just thought it was so much better suited to the way that they looked. Now here I'm just doing my usual thing of putting in the carpets and wallpapers before going on to furnishing. I just find it makes it so much easier for choosing decorations for a room if I don't have to worry about what to do right away. At least I've got something down and can get furniture in. I did end up keeping a majority of the walls white, and the colour comes from the furniture and the decorations, as is the case with most modern builds. But I do have trouble with the outside. I eventually settled on the nice tan tile that you see at the bottom of the house, but I was having an absolute malarkey trying to get something for the upper floors. I went through a few colours, a few choices, before I eventually settled on just the plain white plaster, and at the end of the day, it did. Moving on to the outside of the property, I, as you saw, swapped the doors around there like I said earlier. I played around with a few wall decorations and roof decorations, as well as popping in some terrain paint. So what I did there is I changed my mind, as I do quite a bit, and I decided to put the stone aggregate in the flower beds at the front and put some ornamental plants around instead of just normal plants. I thought that would bring the whole thing to be very modern and very nice. And I do also go into the debug menu for this. I know I say I usually don't like to, but at the end of the day there just aren't that many ornamental looking plants in just base game, and the majority of them do come from the debug menu where they're out in the environment in Oasis Springs. So I did dip into there to get some more ornamental plants, and I thought they looked quite nice. And later on I realised that, hey, I can actually size up some of the potted plants that we have and use those as decorations outside. So I did do that eventually later in the back garden as well. Overall, I thought it looked very nice. I did have a fiddle around with the rotation of the plants. Some of them do still peek into the property, but it's not enough to be worried about at the end of the day, and it still looks good in my opinion. We're now specifically moving into the back garden, and this time around I did put a pool in. You can't stop me, I love putting pools in the back garden. And I decided to make this completely paved, with the exception of, again, the stone aggregate around the outside. I still think that's really nice, and I really like the ornamental looking plants in the back garden in a modern build. I eventually put a small fencing around as a flower border. You can't stop me from using that fence all the time as a flower border, and I will continue to use that fence as a flower border. So here we've got a barbecue, we put in some patio furniture, I put a few decorations in the swimming pool, and I don't forget to put the stairs in this time, sorry. I actually put the stairs in for the ladder. I know Sims can just get in and out by themselves nowadays because God forbid we accidentally to put in a ladder in Sims 2 or Sims 3, you know, it's not as if that was the easiest way to kill off the most annoying Sims in the world, but hey, you know, we'll just have to find a way around it now. So I pop in a mailbox and a couple of bins. The reason I always put 2 in is because I'm not sure again how it is in other places. I'm not very well travelled. But in the UK you have 2 bins. You have your recycling bin and your general waste bin, and they get collected on different days. So it's just everyone always has 2 bins to separate out their trash, and that's just how I'll put it. I'll just put bins everywhere. So yeah, there's me decorating the pool. I put in the flowers, which again is a bit of a struggle, but not as much as a struggle as the front garden, because at least then I'm not making sure that they're not popping in and out of a wall. And we're back to doing the kitchens first for this build. I really liked how this kitchen turned out. I thought it was very in keeping with the theme of the house, very retro-futuristic. I especially liked the island counter. I didn't think there was enough space with how it was split as a kitchen diner, and I didn't think I'd place the windows appropriately to do a kitchen how I usually like to do, and so that island counter always comes in clutch for at least somewhere that I'd like to put the sink. I pop a few stools in at the kitchen counter, I changed the flooring to a nice black and white tile, and overall, like I said, I just really liked how it looked, and that tile I was so desperately trying to use on the outside of the property finally got its moment in the kitchen. Moving on to the bathroom, I am just adjusting that door placement there. I had a bit of trouble choosing which tile I wanted on the wall, but in the end settled for that lovely brick colour there, and I ended up doing 2 accent walls in another colour. I chose the standard shower tub combo. It's a family bathroom after all, so if you have younger children, they will need a tub. I almost went for the freestanding sink because it looked the most modern, but then I changed to a countersink. I just thought it looked nicer at the end of the day. I always like doing countersinks. It's very rare that I use a freestanding unless it's in like a little half bathroom. I put some of the towels and the toilet rolls around, as well as a wash basket. Don't worry, it's not the laundry day wash basket, it is just the base game decorative one. There is only base game content in here as usual. I popped down a rug, put in a nice little painting, and overall I thought the bathroom looked very nice, a very standard family bathroom. For the master bedroom, I was originally very indecisive about where to place the bed and what window to place it against. I definitely wanted it on a wall with a window, as I thought that would be the most appropriate, and considering 3 walls out of 4 had windows, I was just spoilt for choice, I was. I was looking for something to do a feature wall with, as I was starting to get bored of just the white walls, and I ended up with a very nice, just a subtle pink accent to go with the flowers on the bed sheets. I do also change some of the furniture to have black on it just to match the material of the bed, and it is one of those rare instances where I use the base game dresses because it actually goes with the furniture that's in the room. I don't know what went on through EA's mind when they were doing base game furnitures and colour palettes, but some of the stuff just doesn't match and it's quite frustrating sometimes. What I'm doing here is I'm doing a little built-in wardrobe. I really liked how that turned out. I desperately wanted to put a spandrel there, however, whatever I did, it would always make the roof glitch through, so I'm not sure what was going on there, so I did just leave it free open. I tried using a curtain earlier, but that didn't work out either for me. But overall, I was really happy with the master bedroom. I really liked how it turned out, and I just think it's absolutely lovely. The second room we have here, I decided to make a kids bedroom. I really do love that colour palette on the bunk bed there, and I will have to be cold dead in the ground before somebody wrenches the bunk bed desk combo from my hands. I absolutely love how it looks. I think it's such a game changer in terms of space in kids' bedrooms, and I love decorating it and putting all the clutter on there. I don't put a computer in the kids' room. I wanted this primarily to be a room where they could study and sleep. You'll see why later. And overall, I thought it ended up looking very nice, very cute, and I was very happy with how this room turned out. I liked putting in the bookcase, and I especially loved what I did with the curtains. Now, originally this room was going to be a study, but then I decided it would make much more sense to have a kitchen diner and then a separate living room. I had no clue what colour scheme I wanted to go for the living room, so I am placing in pretty much all white furniture. And then what I'm going to do, as you'll see later, is I'm going to pick a random colour and then swatch that. I thought it turned out really well. I really liked the colour I ended up with. I ended up with the soft orange sort of furniture, and I just really, really liked it. I put in a fireplace, which means eventually I need to go up to the roof and change the direction of where that chimney was, because it was on the right hand side of the property. But overall, the living room looks so good. I pop a TV in there, you've got your bookcase, you've got your furniture, and I just really, really loved it. Also, just very quickly, I did put the baby feet on one wall and then I left the rest of it blank. I assume this is going to be a family home, and so in the end you can take your pictures of your family and also put it on that wall as well, was my idea. With the dining room, again, I didn't know what colour I was going to go for, so I popped in a bunch of white furniture first and then made my way from there. I was originally going to play off of that bottle rack and the green on there, but then I changed my mind to blue, but eventually we actually end up settling on a deep purple, and I get rid of that bottle rack completely and exchange it for a couple of hutches. In the end, I thought it actually looked pretty nice. It contrasts well with the kitchen, but it's not absolutely jarring with the change of tone, because I was very aware that whatever this dining room ended up looking like, it would have to contrast well with the kitchen because they are right next to each other. Hence why I went for like a lighter blue, but then I thought that's too much blue, and then I ended up seeing a very nice swatch on that carpet, and I was like, oh, we could do this as a purple and cream, and I was just really happy with how that ended up in the end. Now for my absolute favourite part of this house. Oh my goodness, I loved doing this. It is a dedicated child's playroom. I've always found it difficult getting toys into a child's bedroom and decorating it and also making it enough for them to play and skill build in. So I had the fantastic idea of, hey, let's just build a playroom, and I absolutely loved how it turned out. I loved the rug that I sized up, I loved the furniture, I loved putting all the toys in and the bookshelves. Genuinely, this was probably the happiest I've been with a room, and I decided to put a little cork board in there. My thinking was the parents are going to put the chores on there that this child has to do, and I just absolutely loved it. What I'm doing now is I'm just going around the rest of the house. The child's playroom was the last room to do, and I'm just putting in some extra decorations just for the little finishing touches, and then I will be done. So that is the build in total. It comes to just over 76,000 simoleons and is called Retro Future Roost in the gallery. Thank you so much for watching today, guys. I really do appreciate the time you take to watch these videos. I know it was another long one today, but if you do like it, let me know. If you want to like and subscribe, that would be absolutely fantastic. But if not, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day and enjoy the free cam view.